Yoon Ji-won waking from a dream where she's waiting for someone as a high school student. Later we learn of the bitter rivalry between her Yoon family and the Sok family. Yoon Ji-ho's grandfather, Yoon Jae-ho, who chairs the school she works at, is set to hold a board meeting to decide whether the school's ownership will transfer to the Sok family's company. Yoon Ji-ho is firmly against the transfer, as the Sok family patriarch, Sok Jong-tae, intends to replace the school with a golf course. Meanwhile, Sok Kyung-tae's son, Sok Ji-won, returns from Dubai just as the board votes in favor of transferring the school to the Sok family. Despite his father's insistence, Ji-won opposes the golf course plan and shows no interest in becoming the school's chairman. Soon after, Ji-won learns from high school friends that Yoon Ji-woon no longer remembers him. Skeptical, he decides to verify this himself. When he visits the school, Yoon Ji-woon seemingly ignores him, which fuels his frustration. What Sok Ji-woon doesn't realize, however, is that Yoon Ji-woon had a mishap with her contact lenses in the morning and later broke her glasses, leaving her unable to see him at all. Misinterpreting her behavior as deliberate, Sok Ji-won, feeling slighted, declares to his father that he'll take over as the chairman. We are also shown glimpses of the two Yi-won's shared history as childhood rivals. While Yoon Ji-won excelled academically, Sok Ji-won achieved his own victories, such as becoming the student council president. Their competitive streak extended into a memorable bet in high school. If Sok Ji-won scored higher than Yoon Ji-won in finals, she would agree to date him. If Yoon Ji-won won, Sok Ji-won would call her Nuna, a term of respect for older women, until they graduated. Yoon Ji-won triumphed, but before Sok Ji-won could honor the bet, he brought her to a nearby park, seemingly with something to confess. The episode cuts back to the present, as Sok Ji-won meets the future school principal and insists on meeting the teachers. Yoon Ji-won, waking from another dream about her high school past, still without her glasses. In a comedic twist, she accidentally pinches the chairman's cheek in front of everyone. Yoon Ji-won waking up at home in a panic as rumors of her pinching the chairman circulate throughout the school. Meanwhile, Sok Ji-won visits his father in the hospital after the midnight scare caused by Ji-won. Despite his son's pleas, Sok Ji-won's father remains determined to build a golf course on the school's land. Back at school, Sok Ji-won calls a meeting with the teachers, asking them to form a club for gifted students. The discussion quickly escalates into an argument, with former rivals clashing yet again. The meeting concludes with Yoon Ji-won being appointed as the head of the club, while also receiving the punishment of eating lunch with the chairman. During this lunch, we learn that Yoon Ji-won has been harboring feelings for the school doctor, having confessed to him and waiting for his response. Later, Yoon Jung opts to go home for lunch and is startled to find Sok Young there as well. He had accidentally gotten soaked when Yoon's grandfather sprayed him with a garden hose. During their conversation, Sok Young explains how his father is adamant about constructing the golf course. On their way back to school, the two rivals agree to act like strangers. Soon after, a flashy new gym teacher, Gong-moon Soo, arrives at the school and recognizes Yoon Ji-won. However, she cannot place who he is. Everyone else recognizes him as a former star swimmer who had to quit after an injury. Through this, we learn about Yoon Ji-won's tough college years after losing her parents. Meanwhile, Yoon's friend Meng Sueta takes a liking to Sok Ji-won and orchestrates his invitation to a teacher's dinner meeting. However, a problematic parent delays Yoon Ji-won for hours. Despite this, Sok Ji-won waits discreetly for her to finish so they can head to the dinner together, a gesture that only annoys Yoon Ji-won further. At the dinner, Sok Ji-won accidentally overhears Yoon Ji-won being rejected by the school doctor. The scene turns comedic when Sok Ji-won gets hilariously stuck in a bathtub. When Yoon Ji-won realizes he overheard her conversation, she leaves him stranded without helping. After eventually finding his way back, the two rivals end up arguing about a barren flower tree. In a flashback, we see a young Sok Ji-won confessing his feelings to Yoon Ji-won at a park. In the present, he makes a playful bet. If the tree blooms flowers, Yoon Ji-won has to date him. Yoon Ji-won and Sok Ji-won, reflecting on their past, especially the fallout of their 3-month-long relationship. Sok Ji-won decides to move into the Yoon family residence, the quarters designated for school staff, unable to stomach how Yoon Ji-won had treated him. But maybe this time the residence will be closer to the family childhood. Naturally, Yoon Ji-won is unsettled by Sok Ji-won's presence in the household. Sok Ji-won, however, doesn't miss a chance to tease her, and even manages to recreate moments of their old dynamic, while accompanying her to the convenience store to pick up supplies. Upon their return, Moon-soo surprises everyone with a delicious dinner, leading to a humorous competition between Seok Ji-won and Moon-soo to win over Yoon Ji-won and her grandfather Yoon Jae-ho. Later, during a conversation about the ongoing conflict over the mountain, Sok Ju-yong questions Ji Gum-hoon's allegiance. Sok Ju-yong sides with Yoon Jae-ho, supporting the effort to protect the mountain from the Sok company's golf resort plans. Meanwhile, Cha Ji-ho notices how the two Ji-wons have resumed their bickering, reminiscent of their high school days before they started dating. Back at the house, Sok Ji-won's attempt at cooking stew ends in failure, and Jae-ho reveals plans to meet with others to counter the Sok company's initiatives. However, the next day, Jae-ho is disheartened when many of his allies ghost him, attending a gathering organized by Sok Ji-won's father instead. This leads to a heated confrontation and a fistfight between Jae-ho and Sok Ji-won's father, which both Ji-wons rush to break up. Later, Yoon Ji-won accuses Sok Ji-won of leaking their plans to his father, but he denies the claim. The following day, Ji-hye suggests a beer party at Yoon Ji-won's house as a way to get closer to Sok Ji-won. The party ends with Ji-hye and Moon-soo completely drunk. In the middle of the night, Sok Ji-won wakes up to find a ladder leading to the attic. There he discovers an old box containing mementos from his and Yoon Ji-won's dating days. When Ji-hye, preparing to leave, sees Sok Ji-won's legs dangling from the attic, she screams, causing everyone to gather. Yoon Ji-won is horrified to see her box of secrets exposed. The next day, when Sok Ji-won asks her about a photograph from the box, Yoon Ji-won crumples it, claiming she was on her way to throw the box out. The box also contains her old phone, prompting Ji-hye to recall how she had interfered in their relationship by blocking Sok Ji-won's number, a revelation that might explain their breakup. Ji-hye grows anxious, fearing the truth might come out. Elsewhere, Sok Ji-won's father visits him with an ultimatum. Jae-ho must apologize, or the Yoon family will face severe consequences. Sok Ji-won is tasked with delivering the message. Meanwhile, Sok Ji-won begins to feel unwell, but pushes through until Yoon Ji-won discovers him burning with fever back at the house. As she takes care of him, Sok Ji-won, in a feverish daze, dreams of blooming lilacs and Yoon Ji-won running back to him. Overcome with emotion, he stops her from leaving and kisses her. Just as Jae-ho approaches to give him a heating blanket, Yoon Ji-won quickly prevents Jae-ho from entering the room, saving the situation by keeping the door shut. The next day, Yoon Ji-won is troubled by the kiss, especially since Sok-jeon doesn't remember it. Meanwhile, tensions between Hae-soo and Yumi in the special class escalate, and a new student, Jung-yul, joins Yoon Ji-won's class. Back at home, Yoon Ji-won goes through old pictures on her phone, reminiscing about the time she and Seok Ji-won were dating. The next day, Yi-hye proposes to Seok Ji-won that they return to being friends to ease the awkwardness between them. Meanwhile, Yoon Ji-won and Moon-soo play basketball, before being asked by a fellow teacher to run an errand in Seoul. Ji-hye ditches Moon-soo and Yoon Ji-won to catch a ride with Seok Ji-won, who is headed to Seoul for his mother's birthday. Ji Gum-hoon also hitches a ride with Jae-ho, who has plans of his own. Unfortunately, Moon-soo and Yoon Ji-won miss their bus, but Seok Ji-won finds them waiting at the bus stop. The four end up traveling to Seoul together, and Seok Ji-won promises to pick them up later to return home. Earlier that day, Hae-soo collapses from overstudying, which helps mend her strained relationship with Yumi. Sok Ji-on meets his father and discovers that Jae-ho has apologized for the fight. This is the result of Sok Ji-on choosing to apologize to Jae-ho for his father's behavior instead of issuing threats. Despite apologizing, Jae-ho is still unwilling to tolerate the elder sex's conduct regarding the golf course dispute. Meanwhile, Ji-hye schemes to separate Yoon Ji-won and Sok Ji-won. She cuts off Sok Ji-won's call to Yoon Ji-won and takes her phone for the day, hoping to push Moon-soo and Yoon Ji-won together, similar to what she had done in the past. Moon-soo and Yoon Ji-won spend the day together, with Moon-soo eventually confessing his feelings. Yoon Ji-won politely rejects him, leading Moon-soo to leave. Feeling awkward, Sok Ji-on tries repeatedly to contact them but fails. After waiting a long time and leaving his mother's party early, he heads back alone. Yoon Ji-won, unable to reach him, takes a bus back, and the two meet on the way. They bicker as usual, with Yoon Ji-won questioning Seok Ji-won's reasons for dating her in the past. Seok Ji-won, recalling his younger self, jokingly responds that it was to mercilessly reject her. As their argument subsides, they notice the lilacs blooming, and Seok Ji-won remembers the kiss they shared while he was feverish. Both Ji-won's by the tree, where Seok-yeon insists they start dating since he won their bet. The next day, anticipation builds among their colleagues about the potential romance, but Yoon Ji-won firmly refuses to go along with Seok Ji-won's plan. Resorting to his secretary's advice, Seok Ji-won pretends to be upset, skipping dinner to evoke sympathy. Yoon Ji-won, worried about him, makes him porridge, only to find him secretly feasting on instant ramen in his room. Eventually, she gives in, and they agree to date, albeit only until the tree sheds all its flowers. The next day, their first task as a couple is to keep their relationship hidden while finding ways to communicate. They plan an evening date, but are interrupted when they run into their colleagues and end up spending time with them instead. Later, they manage to sneak away for a quiet riverside date late at night. Meanwhile, Sua has a chance encounter with Dr. Hong when she accompanies her mother to a doctor's appointment. After hearing Sua express frustration about being the sole financial provider in her family, Dr. Hong empathizes, offering her the space to vent her resentment. This thoughtful gesture leaves Sua smitten with him. Elsewhere, Cha Ji-hae is dragged by her father to meet Seok Ji-won's father, who is trying to impress Ji-hae's father, a city councillor. Meanwhile, Yoon Ji-won's grandfather prepares for an interview to speak out against Seok Ji-won's company, which he accuses of destroying the city. In Yoon Ji-won's class, a new student turns out to be a top scorer, pushing Hae-soo to an emotional breaking point. She confides in Dr. Hong, while Aeon Ki-suk, jealous of Dr. Hong's involvement, ends up confessing his feelings to her. A flashback reveals that Sha Ji-hye tipped off Seok Ji-won's father about his living arrangement with the Yoons. Yoon Ji-won's grandfather also discovers the bet, leading to a commotion that forces Seok Ji-won to leave the staff quarters. Later, Sha Ji-won catches Ji-ha with Yoon Ji-won's phone, where she admits to her meddling, explaining it was because she liked him. The following day, Yoon Ji-won reflects on the dwindling flowers on the tree and admits to Cha Ji-hye that she has feelings for Seok Ji-won. Back home, she finds Seok Ji-won's old messages from 18 years ago in her trash folder and sets out to look for him. Simultaneously, Seok Ji-won discovers an old letter from Yoon Ji-won expressing how much she missed him. This leads him to find Yoon Ji-won sitting alone, and he proposes they date for real, not just as part of the bet. The next day, after Seok Ji-won moves out for good, we find Yoon Ji-won meeting him while out for a run. In a flashback, we find Yoon Ji-won hugging Seok Ji-won as a response to their dating the night before. The new couple then shop for a lamp for Seok Ji-won's new apartment before Yoon Ji-won returns back home. The next day, Yoon Ji-won ends up having lunch with Moon-soo, where Yoon Ji-won intends to tell him about her relationship with Seok Ji-won. However, a fellow teacher overhears their conversation halfway and assumes that they're dating. Rumours spread about their relationship in school the next day, from teachers to students. The Ji-won couple end up having a discussion about it, but clear the air between them. Meanwhile, Sue crosses paths with Dr. Hong yet again, but their conversation is cut short when one of Hong's seniors meets them and he leaves with her to catch up on their past. Elsewhere, while having dinner with the Yoon family to take the rest of his luggage back, Seok Ji-won feels bothered with Moon-soo's upcoming karaoke performance at the teacher's workshop the next day. So, Seok Ji-won decides to be extra and gets cars lined up for everybody to travel in, hoping to share one with Yoon Ji-won. But alas, his plans fall through. Meanwhile, we find that Ji Kyun-hoon, who's working for Seok Ji-won's father while betraying Yoon Jae-won's grandfather, had something to do with Yoon Jae-hoo's interview against Seok Ching-tae, because the interview broadcast is called off. Back at the Set Company Resort, where the workshop is being held, the teachers try to push Yoon Ji-won to sing with Moon-soo, which only ends in Set Ji-won joining and passionately singing instead. Elsewhere, Seok Jon-tae receives Seok Ji-won's whereabouts and decides to check on him. Meanwhile, Seok Ji-won finds Cha Ji-hye and suggests that she talk to Yoon Ji-won about what she did with hiding her cell phone. Ji-hye agrees to do it, once she feels comfortable. At the resort, Suo confesses to Dr. Hong but gets rejected instead, just like Yoon Ji-won. Later, Ji-hoi catches the two Ji-wons entering Sok Ji-won's room, and when meeting Sok Kyung-tae in the lobby, takes him directly to Sok Ji-won's room. Ji-hae assisting Yoon Ji-won and Suk Ji-won by taking Suk Ji-won's father to a different room and alerting the couple of his presence. The next day, Suk Ji-won ensures that Yoon Ji-won travels back with him in his car, and the couple spends some time together at a nearby stop. Unfortunately, they run into the other teachers, who have also stopped at the same location. This marks the end of their secret dating life. Meanwhile, Hae-so and her friends discover that the new student, Jong-yul, has also joined the gifted class. However, tensions arise when Hae-so and Jong-yul get into a fight after Jong-yul repeatedly disrupts the other students. Sok Ji-eun's father then decides to reserve a school road for members of the golf resort, despite its critical importance for the students accessing the school. Elsewhere, Yoon Ji-eun sneaks out to meet Sok Ji-eun at his house, but is surprised to find the other teachers there as well. The teachers question the couple about their relationship, but after they leave, the Ji-euns spend the night together, falling asleep until dawn. At school, Seok Ji-won treats the entire school to breakfast in order to make up for Yoon Ji-won missing hers earlier in the morning. Following his assistant's suggestion, Seok Ji-won finally decides to propose to Yoon Ji-won. Elsewhere, suggestive pictures of Hae-soo and Dr. Hong spread throughout the school, prompting the vice principal to interrogate Hae-soo and Dr. Hong about their relationship. Suo overhears the conversation and intervenes to protect both of them. In the process, Dr. Hong confesses that Hae-soo is his daughter. He reveals that he only learned of her existence a year ago and has been agonizing over the revelation ever since. Suo reflects on her initial reaction, realizing it may have been problematic. Meanwhile, banners opposing Sok Ji-won's father's decision to reserve the school road emerge, with parents actively resisting the move. Kyung-hoon, suspecting Yoon Jae-ho is behind the protest, tries to shift his focus by revealing Yoon Jae-hon's relationship with Sok Ji-won. However, Jae-ho eventually accepts their relationship after witnessing the love in Sok Ji-won's gaze toward Yoon Jae-won. Later, Sok Ji-won refuses to step down as the school's chairperson and openly declares his relationship with Yoon Ji-won to his furious father and supportive mother. He plans to propose to Yoon Ji-won and arranges to meet her, but just as she is about to leave, she encounters a man from her past and runs away in distress. In a flashback, we learn that Ji-won had been his junior at a company where she accidentally witnessed him sexually harassing another employee. She intervened to protect the victim and even filed a lawsuit against him, only for the employee to back out. Ji-won ended up leaving the company and faced a defamation lawsuit herself. Soon after, her parents passed away, leaving her under immense pressure. Back in the present, Ji-won decides to return home instead of meeting Sok Ji-won. The next day, Mun-soo, who had seen Ji-won with the man, promises to keep it a secret from her grandfather and Sok Ji-won. Suk Ji-won grows suspicious of Jeong's behavior until he also encounters the man. In a flashback, we discover that Suk Ji-won had been following Yoon Ji-won even after their breakup and had witnessed the argument between her and the man years ago. He had even punched the man at the time. In the present, the man, who turns out to be Cheong-yul's father, approaches Suk Ji-won to talk about his daughter and her altercation with Hae-do. However, Suk Ji-won defends Yoon Ji-won and refuses to let the man meet her, frustrating him further. Meanwhile, Cha Ji-e finds an old essay written by Yoon Ji-won, in which she expressed her desire to be an upholder of justice. Ji gives it to her, and this glimpse of her younger self motivates Cha Ji-e. Later in the day, Seok Ji-yeon's latest proposal attempt is thwarted when Jae-ho interrupts the couple before they can leave for their date. The two then try to convince Jae-ho to approve their relationship. He eventually agrees after sharing how he and Yoon Ji-yeon had struggled following her parents' death. Seok Ji-yeon ends up spending the night at the Yoon's house, sharing a room with Jae-ho. Elsewhere, it is revealed that Kyung-hoon embezzled money while serving as the school's director and used it to purchase land near the future golf course. This explains his support for Suk Ji-won's father while deceiving Jae-ho. We also learn that Jong-yul changed schools to escape his father, a known adulterer. Yoon Ji-eun overhears a conversation between them and later confronts the man. When he tries to attack her, Sok Ji-eun intervenes and puts him in his place. Meanwhile, Suo finally talks to Dr. Hong and Hae-soo witnesses their conversation. The misunderstanding about the viral photo of Haesoo and Dr. Hong is cleared up without exposing their relationship. Haesoo's friends and even Jong-yul confess to being present when the photo was taken. Later, while on a date, Sik Ju-on realizes he left the engagement ring at the Yoon house, prompting the couple to return to retrieve it while Jae-ho is away. However, Sik Ju-on hides in the attic when Jae-ho unexpectedly returns. After Jae-ho leaves, Yoon Ji-yoon joins Sik Ju-on in the attic and reveals she had found the ring while cleaning Jae-ho's room. Sik Ju-yoon decides the moment has come and takes out the ring, but Yoon Ji-yoon ends up finishing his proposal as the episode concludes.